Hi everyone. Welcome. My name's Sarah Wells. I'm here today with a few of our candidates for this year's 2023 election for Board of Directors. And I'm here along with Kevin McFarland from the Art of Emergency Nursing. And we are so excited to be able to get to know some more of our candidates today. We are recording so that other people might be able to see on demand. I have to get off a little early, but you guys are going to continue on and get to know everybody as best you can. Welcome. I was wondering if the candidates might want to introduce themselves, and we could start with Heidi. Heidi, and see, you might want to say who you are, where you're from, and what you're running for this year. I think everyone's running for the same thing, but just to make sure.
Yep. Hey guys, I'm Heidi Gilbert, and I, as well as the other people hopping on, are running for the board of directors. I was super excited to find out I made the slate until I saw the slate. And I was like, I'm friends with all of these people, which is a good problem to have. So, like, I would love your vote. There's two to pick from, but literally any of them that you're going to pick are going to be doing an awesome job. So I am a clinical educator, and I do bedside still because when people call in, which is all the time, or we have hold. And I live in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is smack dab in the middle of Oklahoma, in between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. It's a rural ER. I've worked at much smaller. So I mean, we've got 15 beds, so I've worked at 3-bed ERs. And anyhow, that I have a new grandbaby, not that new, but I have almost a 2-year-old grandbaby that has my heart, and I love dogs, and I love the ENA and all of these fabulous people that I've gotten to meet over the last 10 years. And someone will do a much better job introducing themselves, but that's me.
Thank you so much, Heidi. We're so glad to have you here, and thank you for organizing this today. Mindy, would you like to go next? And I think you're on mute. Hold on, Mindy.
Myself.
There we go.
Hi, everybody. So yes, I'm in pool attire because this happens to be my birthday celebration from last weekend for my RockMed family. So it's a volunteer organization I'm passionate about. So I am Mindy Aleda from Northern California. I work bedside. I'm a staff nurse in a suburban community ER, and I'm currently the Sacramento chapter president and also your ENA Wellness Committee chair. And I'm very passionate as far as promoting wellness for all the nurses and promoting DEI and increasing our diversity in our ENA members, and also mentoring our new grads. And I have a very special spot in Sacramento ENA for one of my emerging professionals, Queenie Rubino, who used to be an ER tech with me. So hi, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mindy. Nicole, you'll be our next one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Oliver, and I'm from Arkansas, if you can't tell from my accent. I don't feel like I have an accent, but then I hear myself on recordings, and I'm like, oh my God, I sound like cornbread. So anyway, I am a nurse practitioner in Arkansas. I work mainly primary care now, but I still do shifts in the ED, and I still do all of their education like TNCC and things like that. And so I'm also running for board of directors, just as everyone else here is. And I was just like Heidi, like I was so excited to make the ballot. And then I saw everybody on it, and I was like, oh dear, this is going to be a really tough decision, because obviously I have one of my own votes, and it's going to be very difficult to figure out who the second vote should go for. So I'm very passionate. I'm kind of in between Heidi and Mindy. I'm very passionate about new graduates, especially, and anyone that's transitioning from like RN to nurse practitioner. I'm very, very passionate about that. I've done several talks about that at national conferences, and then I just did a podcast about that. And then I'm also very involved with rural EDs and trying to get them education and get grants so they can get TNCC and just the education that they need and maybe can't afford. And so I would love to have one of your 2 votes. And if you have any questions, I am an open book pretty much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And it looks like Gregory will be joining us shortly, so we'll get to know him soon. I have to go in a few short minutes, but I would love to open the floor with what are some things that you're hoping to achieve if you're elected to the board? How about we start with Heidi again?
Unmute. I am very passionate about rural emergency nursing, and as an educator, especially through COVID, we had so many challenges with, we're onboarding, 4 or 5 new grads at a time, which was our biggest new grad class coming in to RER. And I mean, trying to find preceptors, and I was looking to the ENA for resources, and they've got really amazing resources. And I don't want to speak negatively, because a lot of hospitals utilize those resources, but the new grad residency, and I looked into that stuff, and it was just not realistically affordable for a hospital our size. And I'm so glad they have the resources for hospitals that can afford it, because it's good, very good products, and I think that they serve their purpose. But part of the requirements for that is you have to have a full-time educator, and you have to have 16 to 18 weeks of orientation. And I know that all of those things are ideal, but that's not the reality for some rural emergency departments. And when we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, which it is worth every single penny, those programs are, but it doesn't, to me, having the best resources available to nurses don't serve a purpose if people can't afford them and access them. And so, like, that's my kind of platform. And I know some other people feel the same. And, as part of our strategic planning for the Oklahoma ENA, we've gone to very rural, actually, where I started off working, in the very southeast corner of Oklahoma, which is a huge trauma area. And it's a level 4 hospital, and they can't afford TNCC. And those are the people that really, really need it. And so we went down there and offered that to them for free. We're doing it again. After the first of the year, we're going down there because they need it and they can't afford it. And the ENA it's the premier organization, and they have all of the things, but we need to figure out creative ways to bridge that gap. And also, I'm a forensic nurse. Not my day job is a real, forensic nurses are real nurses, but I'm a SANE nurse, and I just take call for that. And there are lots of hospitals that don't have SANE nurses, and I try to do a lot of education to our staff. We have SANE covered, but there are domestic violence patients that come in, and that is a huge passion of mine, is domestic violence and sexual assault. And how do we educate? Every single time I've been on the trauma planning, the conference planning committee, and forensic education is a top ask all the time. Nurses want that stuff. So how do we partner with different nursing organizations to bring that kind of education? People that don't have SANE programs and don't have forensic nurses that do domestic violence. And we don't have a forensic, like, domestic violence program, but getting those tools to people that are accessible and affordable. That's my main goal.
I love that. Nicole, what are you looking to achieve if you're elected to the board of directors?
So I would also just echo Heidi and what she said with the rural EDs, because I feel like in those areas, because my hospital has several, like my organization has several different hospitals. And so sometimes I go to the smaller hospital that has a 10-bed ED. And in those ones that you just have, I mean, we have ortho, but only Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We have cardiology, who's not interventional at all. And then we have a general surgeon who just likes to do appies and cholecystectomies. And so if we have anything else, we have to transfer it out. And so sometimes we have to be very creative with what we do. And I think that there could be a lot more resources for that, so that we can get those people the TNCC that they need, and just all of the education and things like that. And then some of those creative ideas, because I mean, sometimes you just do not have what you need, and you just have to just make it up on the fly. The other thing that I'm super, super passionate about, especially because I have a personal like connection to this, is mental health of any nurses, nurse practitioners, any physicians, any staff, basically any healthcare professional. It was 2 years ago, we had an ED physician that attempted suicide, and had somebody not come home when they did and found him, he would not be here today. But he he was just so stressed out with everything in the pandemic and all of that. And suicide rates have just skyrocketed. And so I really, really have a passion for bringing mental health resources to any of these providers. And I mean, that guy's never going to be able to practice again. And it's really sad because he was an excellent ER doctor, but he just couldn't withstand the pressure. And all of us as ED nurses, we're all like, yeah, I can take anything, bring anything my way. And then something happens and it just snaps in people. And I would just like to see that not happen as frequently as it is, because it's very scary.
Thank you, Nicole. That is a very important topic facing all of us in the healthcare community right now. Mindy, what are some things that you're looking to achieve if you're elected to the board of directors for ENA? Oh, we're on mute again. So hard on the phone.
Hi, is that better? Okay. Hi, everybody. So one of the couple things that I'm really passionate about, so being first generation Filipino, I really, being from California, I want to really increase the diversity among ENA members. I'm really passionate about that. So I just noticed it's been a long time coming, and I am actually fluent in a couple languages, Tagalog and Spanish, but I really want to feel that we need to increase the diversity across the country among ENA members. I think it's a long time coming. And also as far as wellness among our members, because I was one of those nurses that worked during the pandemic. And as far as knowing that it's okay to realize that you need therapy or medication, it's okay to realize that you're okay. It's been a stigma when I graduated from nursing in 1995, Sarah. And now it's like become very public, and I really want to support them. And also learning that, you know, this Gen Z population needs really our support, and we need to understand them more as far as I support them in the future. And I have been coaching my emerging professional in my SAC chapter, and I know my SAP chapter probably has more members than more states, because considering I have almost 650 chapter members in my own region itself. So as far as trying to onboard these emerging professionals and nursing students, and I'm really lucky that I came back to an area where I did my undergrad at CSU Sacramento, and I'm very involved with the California Nursing Student Association, and I'm a regular guest speaker. So I'm very passionate about getting nursing students involved. And it's okay that they don't really think about ER, but I think just kind of mentoring them along, and actually mentoring a lot of my ER techs that are actually in nursing school as well. So I'm really passionate about that as far as mentoring as far as our incoming nursing students.
Thank you so much for that, Mindy, and thank you for all you do for all the California ENA members. Okay,
thank you.
So I'm gonna punt the next question and then let Kevin take over, because I have to bow out so I can do daycare pickup duty. What do you all think are some of the biggest challenges facing emergency nurses today? Kevin, take over. Thank you, everyone, and good luck in the election.
Mindy, let's start that question with you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, I think the challenges today is dealing with the new grads and nurses that had to go to school during post-pandemic, and then involving them, the Gen Zs, into this multi-generational nursing workforce. They're very different from when I graduated in 1995. They're different learners. They did Sims. I never did any kind of Sims when I was in nursing school. And I think trying to understand as far as technology has a great key involving as far as these nursing students and the new grads, and embracing that technology, and then understanding as far as the older nurses, some of them are going to be resistant to technology and some of them are going to embrace it. And also supporting today's ER educators and managers, understanding this multi-generational network, that supporting these new grads with their different kind of way of learning. They understand STEMs, they do a lot of online learning, and embracing them as well. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I found today, because right now I do onboard the new hires, and there's a lot of new grads that have come to my workforce that have only been 1 year out. And because I started nursing back in the day when it was paper charting, and I've done a lot of EMR conversions when I was a traveler. So that's also a big challenge, because I know a lot of them, they get freaked out, as we well know, when they have like downtime charting or downtime or uneventful downtime for the EMR as well. So technology is a big challenge, and I think knowing how to support them and understanding their learning is a big challenge as far as today.
Great. Thanks so much. Hey, hey, Greg, we'll let you get yourself kind of situated, and then we'll punt to you for an introduction and then a couple questions. So we'll give you a second to kind of catch your breath. I know you're just coming in. So
I'm in Dallas, so I will be transitioning whenever you guys are ready.
sounds good. So Nicole, the same question for you. What do you think are the biggest challenges for emergency nurses today?
So two things that come to mind. One of them I kind of already mentioned is mental health is a huge thing. There are so many people like even leaving the nursing profession altogether. My last nurse was so frustrated with everything. I mean, during the pandemic and then post-pandemic, because people figured out that we could do a lot of things during the pandemic that we kind of took for granted before. So we're doing many things with less staff and less resources because they're like, oh, we don't have to do all those meetings. We don't have to do all this stuff because we can just make them jump on a Zoom call. Or we didn't have enough staff and we had this one nurse working 3 different providers, and so everyone is so burned out right now. So that's a huge problem, and I just think that we need more resources for that. The other problem that I am seeing, and I alluded to this on the recent podcast issue, is whenever people are transitioning from like nurse to provider, such as me doing nurse to nurse practitioner, people are not, and Mindy even mentioned this earlier, but people are not getting like the base that they need. For instance, a lot of nurse practitioner schools are taking people that have not even been a nurse, like worked as a nurse. And I am just floored by this because I think that if you have not worked as a nurse, what base do you have to work as a provider? And so I am just super, super passionate about trying to advocate for that because people need to have good nursing base and nursing knowledge in order to go back to school and do these other things. And that kind of ties along into the preceptor thing. Like they need good nursing schools for one thing, and they need to learn what they need to learn about nursing. They need to learn about that in school and not count on the preceptors to do it, because I feel like some places are kind of going that way where they're learning a lot of stuff online, and then, oh, when you do your clinicals, your preceptor will teach you all that. And that's not really our job. Our job is to mentor people. And I've seen that with nurse practitioner students too. They just don't have that nursing base. And so they're asking all kinds of questions. And I'm like, how in the world are you going to work as a provider? And so anyway, those, I could talk about both of those forever, but those are the two main challenges that I see right now.
Great answer. Thank you. Heidi, same question for you. What do you think are the biggest challenges right now?
I think right now, I mean, there's so many challenges that Mindy and Nicole have already kind of alluded to, but like my biggest challenge that I see is we have brand new nurses training brand new nurses. And I mean, that's just kind of the beast everywhere. And we've got, I mean, in our ER, and I never thought I would see this happening, is that we've got nurses that are 7 months out that are precepting new nurses. And they're the best choice that we had. And so like, how do we get really good resources for preceptorship and to support these nurses that, you know, like need these new grads that need this education? And I do my best as a, you know, as an educator to support them and find out where they're at. And I've kind of drilled down on certain areas, and I like easy buttons. And so I've got lots of cheat cards and like literally how to set up an art line, like picture by picture, and how to set up a chest tube picture by picture. And I worked all day yesterday on RSI cards on by weight. If someone is 85 kilos, this is the amount of medicine that they give. But again, I'm but one person, and it's super challenging for these brand new people, kind of the same as Nicole with nurse practitioners, and Mindy's, you know, passionate about new grads, is how do we get them the tools and resources to be successful and not burn out in their first 8 months or year, and to not hurt somebody or put their license in jeopardy, or, you know. So that's been my biggest challenge. And throughout COVID, I mean, I was working in COVID ICU and working in the ER because we needed boots on the ground, at the same time trying to onboard 5 new grads that were a month out and taking ICU patients in the ER. And so, like, how do we best support them and how do we bridge those gaps? Those are the biggest challenges that I see.
Absolutely. One question I have for the group that I'd like to ask you guys is, how do we, one of the things that we have a difficult time with it in any organization, ENA not excluded, is getting people to go from being card carrying members to being active members, to being the kind of members that are participating and doing things towards the organization. How do you see best we can engage new people so that they're not only just members, but active members? Nicole, let's start that one with you.
I really think that getting people involved at the state level is really important. Of course, we'd like to get them involved at all levels, but I think to not overwhelm people, because they see us at the national level doing great things, like going Day on the Hill and going to these leadership and all of that stuff. But I think getting people involved at the state level will make it not so intimidating, because I have heard people say, oh, you do so much at this national level, I could never do all of that. And it's like, man, you can get involved at the state level. We have stuff at the state level that needs to be taken care of. And so getting those people involved and on committees and things like that. And once they get involved in that, especially at the state level, I feel like it just like explodes, and they just get so excited about it because they see that they can make a difference at the smaller level, and then they just get very excited and very empowered to do things at the national level. And so I'm all the time trying to encourage people, even my students that I have every single day. I'm like, hey, you need to join your professional nursing organization. I tell people that all the time and they are just so tired of it, but I'm like, you need to not only join, but you've got to get involved. We can plug you in anywhere. What are you good at? Are you good at social media? Are you interested in legislative? Are you interested in this? And then next thing you know, you're just involved in all of these things, and then you're running for a national office. And so I think that, just like I said, getting them involved at the state level is where we kind of need to focus so that we can get them involved at the national level.
Great answer. Mindy, how about you?
Hi. So I think the one thing that really changed is I was able to get my wellness chairperson, my right now ER educator, Lisa Raman, to leadership conference. So bringing her to Charleston last year was such an amazing adventure for her. She was able to see outside of the chapter and state level how nationally I am involved with all these people, and she is such an advocate for ENA. And right now, unfortunately, she's teaching ER skills, and she's not teaching. She's not at my birthday party because she's teaching skills. So I was able to involve her as far as that national level, as far as the leadership conference. And right now, I'm engaged on Instagram, Facebook, eye contact, and LinkedIn as far as getting people to come out. So that's one of the venues I've been able to get people to come out of their regular ENA member self. So as far as getting Lisa, my ER educator at work, on getting to the leadership conference, that's really helped her engage as far as my staff, my coworkers, to be involved in ENA. So I have a lot of first-time attendees for my work coming to ENA San Diego next week, and that's really exciting to me.
Fantastic. Heidi, how about you?
Hey, I did it backwards. I know that people are usually involved like at the state or chapter. Oklahoma is not big enough. We don't have chapters. Like I have my house chapter, I guess, but I got involved at the national level because I really wanted to get involved with Oklahoma ENA, but at the time they were only having meetings on Wednesday, and I had a part-time gig that I was teaching on Mondays and Wednesday nights, and so I couldn't attend any of those. Well, I saw the call for volunteers, and I put my name in the hat for the trauma committee, and I wrote the most ridiculous. I thought, I'm gonna probably not make this committee, but I'm going to make them laugh. And my application narrative was ridiculous. And so when I got email that I got accepted, I was floored. I was like, no way that they picked me off of that. And so I was on the trauma committee. And so that's kind of my shtick, is that I've really tried to encourage people. We've got three different Oklahoma representatives on our board that are on national committees right now, because I was like, you guys should run for that. And like, oh, I'll never get picked. I'm like, I am not anybody. Like, I am a hot mess of a person. And I was like, and they picked me. And so, like, literally just today, I had a student that from a really, really, like, one of the 3-4 bed ERs that's a little north of us. And she was doing her bachelor's degree, and she came and had to do her like preceptorship or whatever with me, poor thing. And she was really impressed because I had some online meetings for the education planning committee, and she's like, was so impressed how active I was in the ENA, and she's an ENA member. And so she saw how fun that was. And so I reached out to her today and told her, I was like, I think you should apply for this committee. And it's actually the wellness committee, because she is taught me a lot. She does functional medicine, and I knew a little bit about functional medicine. And so she was doing some education with me about different disease processes. And sometimes we think patients are just crazy, and they actually legitimately have these things going on. And I said, I think you would be a really unique perspective on that committee, coming from such a rural area and your expertise in that. So she's going to apply. And I also encouraged her to apply for national conference. And I was like, I've never heard of any of this stuff at any of the conferences, and I think it is so valuable. So literally probably 20 minutes ago, she sent me an email with what she was her narrative. And I said, I think you knocked it out of the park on explaining what you'll talk about. So I think just people are intimidated by it. But if you tell them, like, you know what, you're 100%, you're not going to make it if you don't apply. And I was like, they pick rural bumpkin people like me or Nicole all the time for stuff, because we're a diverse organization and they want diverse voices at things. And so, it takes people from California, North Carolina, and Arkansas, and it takes all of us because ER nurses are so diverse. So anyhow, that's how I do, is like actually tell people, I was like, I know it's a big jump, but do it, because people get picked all the time that you wouldn't think would get picked.
That's awesome. I love that. Hey, Greg, can you hear us now? I wonder if you got a little bit better signal now.
I can. I have like one bar. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect.
Do you want to take a moment and introduce yourself to folks and tell people who you are and a little bit about you?
Yes, of course. So Gregory Pittman. I live in South Carolina. I've been a nurse for about 16 years now, 20 years in healthcare. Most of my career path has been in emergency medicine. Did obtain my degree as a nurse practitioner. Worked for a short period of time. Found out it was not my love and passion, so went back into leadership and have continued to serve in the leadership realm, mostly in ER. Now I am an executive with a company that covers 11 hospitals that works on recruitment and retention efforts for the company, and do a lot of relationship building with colleges and things like that. So still strive for ER, love it, and do that. So that's a little bit about me. Currently, actually, I'm also the state president for the South Carolina chapter. I've been doing a lot of engagement and recruitment in that area as well, to engage more members and get them active in that chapter as well.
What would you hope to accomplish should you be elected to the board?
So my biggest passion is getting people involved. I think the bits and pieces that I've caught from everybody else, I really think that it's important to get more people involved. And as Heidi said, kind of pulling them into those committees and getting them opportunities and exposure to different things that allow them to see the impact that we do as emergency nurses and people who want to strive to make things better for all of our nurses across the nation. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is getting more people involved. Even here in South Carolina State, one of our recent events really opened a lot of eyes to a lot of nurses who were not involved in Emergency Nurses Association, and really saw the impact that we're doing and how we're making a difference in everyday care for our patients, our staff, and everyone involved. And we've seen an increase in people who are interested, wanting to do more with the chapters from the local level and the state level. So very excited about that as well.
That's awesome. And one of the questions that I asked was how do we get people more involved from going from like card carrying member to the actively involved member at the ENA? Do you want to take on that question?
Sure. I think showing them value in their membership and what we have to offer is probably the top priority. I think, as mentioned, just getting them pulled in more. How can we make a difference for them, and how can we serve their needs, not only in their needs from whatever it may be, mental wellness or advanced certification, continuing education, whatever that realm may be, but truly just getting them involved and pulling them in more, and again, seeing what it is they want out of their membership and what they expect from us.
Fantastic. One second. What challenges, another question for you, Greg, what challenges do you think the organization faces as an organization? What do you think are the greatest challenges the organization faces right now?
As a ENA as a whole, I think a lot of things that we have seen over the past 2 years, we lost a lot of the value and the everyday face-to-face interactions that we were so accustomed to prior to the pandemic. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we face right now, is just having the need to get people back together and showing them the value. Again, I heard somebody mention about Day on the Hill and things like that. So getting them more involved and engaged in things like that, I think would change what we're doing and how we can impact people to get them more involved. Because I think we've lost that touch with many people, especially I know in my state, when we moved to that virtual platform, everybody's accustomed to that now and really struggling with doing those face-to-face interactions. So I think that's the hardest thing.
Wonderful. Another question I have for all the candidates, and we'll go through each one of you guys for this one. One of the big challenges we have is there's a huge generational gap between the folks that we have in our organization. We have a lot of folks on either side. We have a lot of folks who are pretty new in their career in their first year or two, and we have people who have been, very seasoned, been doing it for a really long time. How do we bridge the gap between those experienced people who've been in the organization for a long time and have been active for a long time, but maybe are on the, kind of the twilight of their career, and the new ones that are coming in? How do we engage this new generation of nurses that are coming through? Nicole, let's start with you for that one.
Well, I think we have to meet people where they are, basically. Some of us that have been in this for quite some time, I think I started in the ER when I was 18, and so that was in like 2001. So it's a very long time. Not as long as some, but not as short as others. But I think we do have to just meet people where they are. And so I've been trying to embrace new technology. I remember when all of the social media and stuff came out, and I was like, I am not getting on that crap. I am not doing that. I'm not going to be a part of that. I am not going to utilize that. And then here I am on every single platform. And the the latest thing that I've learned about this, you guys do not make fun of me, okay? But the last thing I learned about was like Chat GPT or whatever. I don't even know. And these people are like, my students are like, because I'm in an MBA program, I'm just about finished. I've got 3 classes left. And I was having so much trouble with this accounting problem. And then one of my, millennial students was like, well, have you tried asking Chat GPT? And I'm like, who is that? So anyway, I've been trying to embrace all of this so that I can meet people where they're at and interact with people that way. And so here I am on every social media channel, and probably not all of them, but I've been trying to just do that kind of stuff and learn that stuff and take initiative that way. Some people that are even like twice my age that are still in, they're not going to embrace that at all. I remember teaching when our hospital went to Cerner, teaching Cerner classes, and all of the younger ones did pretty good on it and they caught on to it pretty quick. But then you had the one that was like, you know, how do I use this mouse? I've never used this before. And it's like, oh my gosh, really? And so that was kind of an interesting time too. But just really trying to figure out what people know, what people are willing to do, and then trying to kind of be adaptable. That's one thing I think is really important, is to be adaptable.
Absolutely. I think adaptability, like that's like the middle name of the emergency nurse, right? Heidi, you want to take that question on next?
Yeah, I will. Like I am such a big proponent for our new grads and a cheerleader for them. And so like I have a spiel whenever they go through clinical orientation. I was like, come meet me at 1 o'clock when you're done, and I give them a tour of the ER. And you know, I get my soapbox speech for them. And anytime I used to do code blue education for clinical orientation too. And I said, everybody in this room is as smart as the next person. And I said, now I may have more initials behind my name and more experience and tools in my toolbox because I've taken classes and things like that. I was like, I'm not any smarter than you are. And I said that I don't care if it's, you know, the head of the cardiology department or our ER director. And I was like, we're all as smart as the next person. And I said, you know, as a new grad, and when I teach TNCC, I tell them this, and I said, you know, as a new grad, don't be intimidated by the experience in this room, because I go like, you tell me everybody, and we all know each other, but you know, tell me about yourself. And I said, there are things like, I don't know, a few months ago, I taught TNCC and there was a new grad there. And I knew that the week before they had a precipitous labor in the ER and delivered a baby. And I've done this for 26 years and I've still not done that. And so I said, you know, I said, there are things that you can be your first day in the ER and you're going to do something that I've never seen before. And I said, that's just kind of the beast of the game. And I said, and, you know, I remember being a new grad a long time ago again, in 1997. And we had, you know, a old charge nurse that still wore her cap and her dress. And I remember her, you know, icing down an NG tube, and I was like, oh my God, we don't do that anymore. And I thought, like, I don't ever want to be that nurse. And so that's what I try to empower the new grads. And I was like, if there's something that we don't do anymore, I try to stay up on best practice. But I said, you've got the jump on us that have been doing this a while. It's like, because you're learning the brand new way to do things, the best practice. You're getting that straight out of RN school or out of LPN school or whatever you're in. And I said, so you have that up on me. And so I said, you know, make sure that you um correct me if like, hey, like we don't do that anymore. And I said that, you know, we're all on the same team, and I just really try to empower the newer grads to have that, and also hold. And I say that I'm not an old nurse, I'm still young, but you know, I try to hold people that are accountable that have been doing this for 20 or 30 or more years, is that, you know, we've got stuff to learn too, because just because that's how we've always done it, there's things that we used to do that are not the right way to do it anymore. And so that's kind of my bridge that I try to form with our multi-generational ER, is that like really telling them that you, just because you don't have the experience or the initials or the whatever behind your name, like you really have a lot to offer. It speaks very highly that you got accepted to nursing school, because a lot of people don't, and that you made it all the way through because a lot of people don't, and you pass boards because a lot of people don't. And so really trying to empower our younger, newer grads with that.
That's great. Great answer. Mindy, how about you? How do we bridge that? How do
Yeah.
we bridge that gap?
So that bridge that gap. So I'm really fortunate. I belong to a very large health organization. I've got a new job starting in October, and I'm going to take it with a grain of salt as far as understanding. So I'm going to an ER where they don't have PICU, they don't have NICU, and they don't have LND. So I'm leaving a job where they have all those facilities or resources available. So As far as getting, sorry about the noise. I'm in downtown Sacramento. As far as relaying to that information, I want to tell them and embrace them as far as the new grads, knowing that there are resources available from ENA, and I'm here to help you. I've worked so many health systems in California, and I think my experience as a traveler for 7 years really strengthened my skills as an ER nurse and then being in leadership roles. And as far as understanding the technology challenges, because I'm so jealous of the nurses that have this fantastic sim lab at my alma mater at Sac State. I'm so jealous of that because I didn't have any sim lab in the 1990s. I didn't have any of that. So I think the biggest challenge as far as me being 24, 25 years out in ER nurses and understanding the challenges in technology as far as what the nurses are having to deal with. They have all this technology and coming down to their level and let them know as far as this multi-generational network, people in my age, and I know I don't look my age, as far as what we had to deal with, and we can come together and collaborate as far as strengthening our teamwork, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my big takeaway point as far as that multi-generational network, as far as we all had different paths of learning. Like I could rock down downtime like no other because I've done paper charting. These nurses that are coming in, they have no idea what, unscheduled downtime is like. I can rock paper charting that there's no other. But as far as embracing these challenges for these new grads coming in is one of the big things that I want to embrace as far as being elected to board of director.
Fantastic. I'm gonna in the interest of time, I think I'm gonna ask maybe one, maybe two more questions, depending on how much time we have. Mindy, I'm gonna start this question with you. Besides the people and besides the community, so there was a question on Facebook. There's a question on Facebook, on the ENA's Facebook page today that talked about what's the best thing about conference, and hands down, everybody said it's the people. Meet the people, network, get to know the folks. Besides the people in the community, Mindy, what's been the most important benefit you've gotten out of your ENA membership?
The bottom line at my first ENA conference, because I went to San Diego as a traveler, I think one of the most amazing thing is being part of General Assembly, being a delegate. Once you become a delegate, it finally comes together when you actually have a mentor as far as what this organization is about. And I was really fortunate that Anna Valdez was my mentor at ENA Orlando. And she is my amazing mentor. I'm an idol of her. And I think once ENA members realize it's going to be a valuable experience to be a delegate, it really comes together. And then after becoming a delegate for many years, being part of a national committee, and then I became a national committee chair, it all comes together as far as how you can contribute, how your experience can actually make a difference. And I'm in my second committee chair as wellness committee chair, and it's just been an honor to be parting another committee chair in my career. And I think I just want to encourage all the ENA members, apply to be on a committee. You never know what you're going to get. And that's been my experience as far as telling everybody, as far as get involved, get out of your chapter state level. And I'm really fortunate because California has 13 chapters. So and I really want to invoke as far as anybody from smaller states, please get involved as far as the national committee level. Thanks.
Heidi, do you want to take that question next? Besides the people and besides the community, what's been the best benefit for ENA for you?
That's a rough one, a benefit of the ENA. I mean, the education is awesome. And I'll kind of have say one thing, and then I want to say a positive is that I'll kind of go back to wanting diversity of rural, smaller ERs, because the first conference I ever went to, I was really excited about going to certain sessions that sounded and I specifically remember one was about onboarding new grads. And I went to it, and it was this large university multi-site facility. And I think nothing negative. I mean, those nurses work their tails off just like anybody else, but it wasn't relevant to me in that They had a cadaver lab and all, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, that's amazing. And they had, you know, Sims labs and all of this stuff. And I was like, that's not relevant to me. And so then I got on the committee, and then as a chair, I really, that was my perspective and advocacy on the education board, is like, I want to pick people from very small hospitals that are, like Nicole said, we got to wing it and we have to put stuff together on the fly. And so in the last few years, and that just might have been bad luck on me for picking that session, and plenty of 99% of that room, it was super relevant to them, and that was great. And now I really love when I see people that are in smaller areas that have gotten creative and have come up with ideas. And I was like, wow, that was a really neat idea. They made an escape room, and that didn't cost any money. Like, that's relevant to us, is finding those things that hit home and that are super relevant that you can bring back and make your ER better. I love that. And I'll cheat a little bit on the people. The people part of it, though, is just on the app. And I would go to certain sessions and I would reach out to the speaker. And I was like, I really love that. Would you be willing to record something that I can show our staff? And the speakers are like, heck yeah. I mean, like, nobody is in this that I know of to make any money. And so, like, I've been able to make connections with speakers and presentations that resonated with me, and bring that either to maybe our Oklahoma conference that's virtual, or recordings that I can share with RER staff. And so kind of bringing that in, those kind of connections with very smart people, and very relevant presentations that can make my job easier and our nurses better.
Great answer. Nicole, can you answer the same question? Besides the people in the community, what's been the biggest benefit for ENA for you?
So honestly, the people are great. I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit too. The people are awesome, and the connections I have made have been absolutely invaluable, not only to my personal life, but also to my career, because I have made just these lifelong friends that are involved in so many different things, and it has been very motivating for me. But this organization in itself, this was the first nursing organization that I joined. And it was like in 2008 whenever I joined. And the reason I joined is because I took a TNCC class, and I was like, who puts this class on? This class is awesome. And so I joined ENA. I was not a member, of course, at the time. And so then I was like, I'm going to start teaching this stuff. And so it just motivated me to keep going. So then I started teaching. Then I started doing course director. Then I got involved at the state level, and I got involved at the national level. And so I've been like on the advanced practice, emergency nursing advanced practice council. I've chaired that council. I was on conference committee, and I've actually been involved in the last two versions of the TNCC revision. And so I've written the bariatric chapter both times. So if you guys want my autograph at conference, I'm happy. Bring your TNCC book. I'm happy. But I also got to write in Sheehy's Manual of Emergency Nursing. And this has been the best experience. Not only has it helped me, like I said, personally, but professionally, this has been the most invaluable organization I've ever been a part of. And there are so many opportunities. Like, people are like, I could never do that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, if you like any, I mean, there are so many things. If you like any different thing, there are places to plug you in. And that has been just the very best thing for me.
What a great answer. I seen just a quick shout out to Andy. I seen Andy usually has her Sheehy's emergency nursing book, and she's got, I think, most of the chapters autographed. And it was like, why did I not think of that? That's such a brilliant idea. That's such a great idea. And what a cool thing to be able to do. So shout out to Andy for that. So guys, I think in the matter of time, we've been going at this for about an hour. I think we better wrap this up. But what I want to tell you guys is and Heidi mentioned this in the chat. Don't forget to check out the people who couldn't be here's page. Check out Jamie's page. She wasn't able to get here. She got caught up on a flight. She's a flight nurse. She got caught up on a flight. And don't forget to check out Lauren's page. Lauren had prior commitments, so she wasn't able to be here as well. And then one thing I can highly recommend, I was listening to it today, is your third favorite podcast on emergency nursing, the ENA podcast. Is a great place where you can hear more about the candidates, each of the candidates for not only the director roles, but for the officer roles and for the nominations and elections committee, all did a little section on the ENA podcast. And Dan Campana always does a great job. He did a great job on that podcast, asking some of the questions to these people who've been on today and those that haven't. So if you haven't checked that out, please check that out. And understand that this has been this Zoom has not been endorsed or supported by ENA at all. This is just, some people deciding to get together and give the candidates just one more place to kind of say a little something and give people a chance to get to know the candidates. And I appreciate you guys who took the time to do that. We've had a couple who've fallen off. But for those of you who've stuck in and for those of you who participated, thank you so much for being part of this. We're going to post this on social media and give the candidates a chance to share this as well. So,
and there is another, I'm just going to say another chance to meet all of the candidates. I believe it is on Saturday. Am I right, Heidi? The 22nd, whatever the 22nd is, during the experience hall. So we can all talk to you guys face to face as well.
Will you send me that information and I'll put that at the end of this. I'll put that at the end of this video when I put the video on and post the video. I'll put just a reminder that people can check that out as well.
Yeah, we'd love to see you guys. It is, nope, I'm not going to be able to find it. Sorry about that. It's the 22nd. It's Friday. And it's in the experience hall. So we would love to see you, or you guys come see us.
Yeah, send me the info and the times and stuff, and I'll include that on here, and I'll also include a link to the ENA podcast, which I did put in the chat for those of you who are still with us, and then a link to the candidates pages as well. So
thanks
guys,
so much, Kevin,
much.
for you. Yeah, thanks, Kevin, for taking your part of your Friday night to do this. You always ask such great questions.
Well, and big thanks to Sarah Wells, who unfortunately had to cut out, but big thanks to her for being part of this as well. And thank you guys. And thanks to you who participated and watched.